All right, well, I've been seeing a lot of new players to Neverwinter, which is awesome to see. I love it when new people join the game. Uh, so I figure, why not take this time to do a little beginner's guide? This is going to be super basics, though. I'm talking like your first time coming to the game, or maybe you've just been away for a long time, and you're just barely coming back. I'm going to walk you through your first minutes starting out from character creation all the way till running your first dungeon. Let's go. This is going to be a beginner's guide. I'm going to be talking about very, very beginner things. So, I don't know, share this with anybody looking to start the game or is brand new to the game and is, has any questions. And if you want some more specific guides about specific elements, let me know and we can work on those. So first, you just started the game, you're in character creation, and you gotta pick your race. A staple of any good RPG. Let's briefly talk about each race. I'm not going to read you off what exactly they all do, but you can see it on the screen. It will have all of their racial bonuses, and you can see it in-game. Humans are a good, versatile, all-around race. Half-orcs make good DPS. Wood elves, also good DPS, but okay healers as well. Sun elves got great daily ability recharge. Dwarves are a fantastic choice for tanks or just beefy classes. Halflings are short. Half elf, somewhere between a human and an elf. Tiefling, your quintessential warlock character. And Drow, the dark elves, my favorite. Each race has their own racial passives and whatnot. However, don't think too hard about it, especially for your first character. Their bonuses are minor. They help. Don't get me wrong. Picking the right race for you will help. But honestly, more importantly, you should pick what looks good to you. Pick a character that you want to be. If you really, really want to be a tiefling, do it. If you really want to play a little halfling barbarian, go for it. I would also like to mention, I only showed off the free races. There are some more races, but they are premium races, which you have to buy with real money. I did not talk about those because this is aimed at new players. New players won't have those. After you pick your race, you get to pick a class. Class is what you do in combat. They are Cleric, your healer DPS. Barbarian, your big two-handed sword, smash 'em. The Warlock, the edgelord race or class. Rogue, the sneaky stab. Fighter, it's a classic. You got a big shield, you got a big sword, you hit things. Paladin, you hit things, and then you pray to God about it. Ranger, you shoot things. And Wizards, you read books. Jokes aside, each class does something a little different. Pick what you like. If you don't like it, try another one. I'm gonna go for a Cleric this time. Next, we're going to talk about ability scores, a D&D staple. Neverwinter is based on Dungeons & Dragons, after all. As with the race, don't think too hard on these. Like, they definitely help, don't get me wrong. But they're not as important as in, like, actual tabletop Dungeons & Dragons. Anyways, strength gives you stamina regen and physical damage boost. Dexterity gives crit severity and movement speed. Wisdom, control resistance, and outgoing healing. Constitution, max hit points and action point gain. Action points are what refills your daily ability. Intelligence, control bonus, and magic damage boost. And charisma for forte and recharge speed. I'm going to go dexterity and intelligence for this because I'm going for a cleric healer. Dexterity is good for healers because crit severity is good for healers. And wisdom boosts outgoing healing. Next, you gotta customize your character. You can pick a preset and or you can go in and really detail them out to get them exactly how you want them. You know, spend a bit of time here. But when you reach level 70, you actually do get 2 free character change tokens. So you can, if you decide, you know, after you get to level 70, you don't like character, or how they look, I should say, you can change it up. After that, you get to pick your character origin and deity affiliation. These don't contribute to gameplay at all. It's more for lore and role-playing. If you care about Forgotten Realms lore, I recommend reading up on these. Or just pick randomly. Like I said, they don't matter. They give you a title. Next, you get to name your character. We're going to go with Alcade. A character from one of my D&D games. I didn't play it. I'm the DM. Anyway, doesn't matter. You get to name a character and begin adventure. When you begin, you're going to get yourself a nice little cinematic. I encourage you to watch it if you care about the lore and story, but I'm going to skip it. After that, you're thrown into a tutorial scenario. It'll teach you the basics, how to move, how to fight, all of that, pick up quests. Throughout the course of this tutorial, you'll gradually level up and you'll get a couple of extra skills and abilities while you're going. You start off with just a single one, your left click. Neverwinter is an action combat MMO. There is no tab targeting. You point at the enemy, you click the button, you do your attack. You can tap shift or double tap a direction to dodge. Each class has its own type of dodge. Clerics slide, rogues dodge roll, wizards teleport, and barbarians sprint. After you go through that and complete a few quests, you will get to the Sleeping Dragon Bridge scenario, in which you'll fight your way to the end and you will fight your first boss. He's quite easy, but he's there just to kind of give you the basics of how a boss fight will work and teach you how to use your daily ability. Daily abilities are similar to an ultimate in some other games you might have played. Overwatch has an ultimate. Elder Scrolls Online has an ultimate. It's similar to that. As you fight, you build up your action points, that little yellow D20 icon in the center of your hotbar. As when that fills up, you get to use either your 1 or 2 ability. They typically do massive damage, massive heals, what have you, depending on your role. After that, you will make your way to Protector's Enclave, the main hub city of Neverwinter. In Protector's Enclave, you can do all sorts of things. You can check your bank, you can craft, you can buy stuff at vendors, the auction house is there, all sorts of classic MMO goodness. You'll immediately be directed to Sergeant Knox, the main quest giver and your guide through the game. If at any point you are lost or you're not quite sure what to do, go check back at Sergeant Knox. He might have something for you. Most zones and quests are started by getting a quest from Sergeant Knox, but not all of them. To accept a quest, look for somebody with that exclamation point inside a diamond icon. Walk up to them and hit F to interact. And for your first quest, he is going to send you to pick up your first mount. So Neverwinter, honestly, it's kind of a nice feature. It's a rather newer feature, but it gives you a mount right away. You don't need to wait until you're level 20 or 30 or whatever before you get a mount. You get one as soon as you finish the tutorial. So he hands you a quest. It shows you on the map where to go get it. Look for the question mark icon. You go over there, you talk to the guy, and he gives you the option of a Waterdeep horse or a Sabrina horse. They both do the same thing, and all mounts give you a 140% speed boost while you are riding them. So pick whichever one you like better. You can right-click them to inspect. I'm gonna go with the Waterdeep horse. Once you get your horse, it goes into your inventory. You need to right-click it and select Bind. Once you bind it, it will be in your Mounts tab. You can find it in your character sheet. Let's quickly take a break from this quest to talk over the character sheet. Your character sheet is where most of your information is stored. On the main page, the one that you get when you hit that C key, you can view all of your equipment, as well as your total item level, which is an average of all of your items added together, and all of your stats. The second tab is the Appearance tab. This is where you can change the appearance of various pieces of gear. Your History tab, mostly for lore and roleplay reasons, but you can change your title here. You can also add yourself a biography if you are into really getting into character. Next is Powers. On the Powers is where all of your active and passive abilities go, and they are separated between At Wills, which are your right and left mouse click buttons, Encounters, which are your cooldowns on Q, E, and R, Dailies, which are your 1 and 2 abilities, Mechanics, which are either passives or just things you can do. Your Shift ability and your Tab ability go there. For a Cleric, my Shift, like I said, is a little dashy slide. My Tab regenerates my Divinity, which is a resource that Clerics have. Each class has a different Shift and Tab. Your class features, which are slottable passive buffs. You'll notice by the Q button on the hotbar, you can see those two little icons there. You can slot in different class features. Your feats, which you won't need to worry about until you pick a subclass at level 30. And general, which are just general passive buffs. That's where your racial passives go, and some other stuff. Boons are passive skill buffs that you get from the higher level campaigns. They're like a nice little reward. Your companion tabs, Neverwinter does feature a companion system, kind of similar to Star Wars The Old Republic, if you're familiar with that game. There's many different types. There's ones that tank for you, there's ones that heal for you, there's ones that do damage for you. They will all be here. You can give them equipment. You can slot in passive buffs from the mounts or companions that you collect. So I highly recommend collecting a lot of them. And finally, the Mounts tab. On the Mounts tab, it's split into two different tabs. Your current mount, which is what you ride, which features your mount's combat ability and passive ability. By the way, mounts in Neverwinter, unlike other MMOs, actually serve a purpose in combat. Each mount has a different combat ability. So make sure you check what it does. Some are a big AoE burst, some are a single target, assassinate type skill. There's heals, there's buffs and debuffs, there's all sorts of things. They also give you a passive stat boost. The stable is where you slot in insignias and mount collars. Those both are equipment for your mounts, and they give you some stats. As part of the quest, it makes you slot in an enlightened insignia. Simply click on the button that says enlightened insignia slot, and it will list all of the ones that you have in your inventory. You can also open your inventory and drag it over if you wish. Now that the quest is complete, you can return to Sergeant Knox and he will give you your next quest.
You might want to brace yourselves for this.
Alright, let's quickly talk about your journal. Hit J to open up the journal. The main page is the quest journal. This will list all of the quests that you currently have. You can click the display options to change how it shows them to you if you wish. You can hit expand current map to show you only the quests in the map that you are currently on. and they are all listed, as you can see, based on map. The second tab is your achievements. Neverwinter features an achievement system. You get various achievements for doing things. Certain achievements also grant titles. The next tab over is the lore tab. All of those lore entries you found will go here. Feel free to have a read if you would like to learn more about the lore and storyline of Neverwinter. Also, little known fact, certain bosses, after you have fought them once, put a lore entry into the lore tab that tell you their tactics. So if you are struggling with a boss, check the lore section of your journal. It just might give you some tips to beating it. And the final tab is the campaigns tab. Campaigns are essentially the different expansions to the game over time. They are their own stories, typically self-contained. Sometimes they involve the events of other stories, but they are typically their own self-contained storyline and bits of content. You can see they all have their own level requirement. You must be that level to start them. The first one you will get is the Tyranny of Dragons. I highly recommend starting Tyranny of Dragons at level 26 when you get it. It can take a while to complete. We will talk about campaigns in another video. Once you turn in that quest, you will get your the quest to send you to your first zone, the Blacklake District.
We have a lead that the thieves were seen traveling to the Blacklake District. That area is a mess. And I'm not just talking about the sludge from the lake.
Neverwinter is a zone-based MMO. All of the world is broken up into smaller little zones that you can get to by going through zone gates. To find a zone gate, open up your map with M and look for the gate icon. You can travel to any zone you have access to from any gate. So head over to the closest gate and click on the Blacklake District. After you load in, you can turn in that quest and he'll give you some more. Zones are full of quests and things to do. There's usually one main quest line that takes you all the way through with a few side quests sprinkled in there. I'm going to focus throughout this video mostly on the main quest, but there are some side quests for you to do as well. I also feel now is a good time to mention, since the quest sends you to get a potion, that you can equip potions to your 4, 5, and 6 hotkeys down there, and mount is bound to your 7. Remember when I mentioned those mount combat powers? When you get into combat, your mount up button turns into the mount combat power button. And number 3 is for your artifacts. We'll talk about those later. Alright, so your first quest has you searching for clues. Pretty easy. Follow the mini-map. There's little diamond points on there. There's also a glowing trail if you choose to follow that instead. When you get to the first one, you'll find a body with some white shimmers around it. Everything that is interactable in Neverwinter has those same white sparkles around them, so constantly be on the lookout for them. After you complete 1 or 2 quests in Blacklake, you will get a quest called the Dead Rats, which is going to send you to your first lair. Lairs are a common staple in Neverwinter. Each zone has at least one, but usually more. Lairs are like, think of them like mini dungeons. You can tackle them solo. They are balanced around being solo. But if you ask around the zone you're in, maybe you can recruit a few friends to come in with you. Lairs are typically fairly linear dungeon runs. You will run through the end, get to the end. Usually there's a boss. Sometimes there's a couple of bosses. And then you get some loot at the end. While running around, be on the lookout for things that sparkle. Once again, anything that sparkles you can interact with. Inside lairs and just generally around the world, you'll find skill nodes, which are class dependent, but you can buy kits at a vendor to let you open all of them. They're like little nodes in the world that you can interact with, and you get some stuff out of them. Some money, some refining gemstones. We'll talk about refining and enchantments later on in the video. You can also find treasure chests and lore entries. Scattered around the world are Once again, things that glow and shimmer with those sparkles, if you interact with them, they go into the lore tab of your journal. More on that later. While running through various layers and dungeons, be on the lookout for traps. Once again, this is a Dungeons & Dragons based MMORPG. Traps are everywhere in dungeons, and be on the lookout. Some of them can do quite a bit of damage. You can see here, there's an arrow trap in the wall. And behind me over there is a spike trap. If I were to step on that, spikes would shoot up and do damage to me. And for non-VIP players, you will take an injury. When you get an injury, it appears under your character tab at the top of the screen. To clear it, simply wait at a campfire for around, for just a couple of minutes. I think it's 30 seconds. Or use a consumable item called an injury kit. Those can be bought at vendors. As we continue through the lair, we will get to Flea Bottom, the first lair boss. Lair bosses, once again, they're easy. They don't really have a lot of mechanics. Just hit him till he's dead, get your reward, and the lair is cleared. After you're done with the lair, there will be a treasure chest at the end, very similar to how dungeons work. You walk up, you interact with it, and it gives you a piece of loot. Or sometimes a couple of pieces of loot. Blacklake is a rather short zone. You should get through it within 20 to 30 minutes. It doesn't take that long. It's an extended tutorial zone.
But I didn't seek hard.
So we're gonna run through another layer here. This one gives you a bag. Bags are special items that increase your amount of inventory you have. Looks like after completing that quest, I leveled up to level 10. Every 10 levels in Neverwinter, you get an ability score improvement, which means you can put points into your different ability scores. As I said, for this build, I'm going Dex Wisdom. You can pick what you feel is best for your character. Don't worry, you can retrain this for a small fee of Astral Diamonds, the main currency of the game. Alright, get to the end, fight the boss, reclaim the crown of Neverwinter, and return to Sergeant Knox in Protector's Enclave. Once again, remember that you can change zone by going to any zone exit, and you can teleport directly to any other zone. Before we head to our next zone, we're going to quickly talk about invoking. When you get to level 10, you unlock the ability to invoke. When you reach level 10, Sergeant Knox will give you a quest called Invoking the Gods, which will teach you how to do it. Basically, invoking allows you to pray to your god every few minutes, kind of like a loyalty program that is in other games. You do this every few minutes. It's on a timer. You get some rewards. Your first and last one every day will reward you with a special currency that you can use to buy different things. Invoke by hitting Control I and accept your rewards. You also get an Invocation Blessing, which is a buff item that goes into your inventory. You can slot that on your 4, 5, and 6, or just use it directly from your inventory like I do.
There's trouble brewing in the Tower District.
Alright, let's head to the next zone, the Tower District. A much larger, more dense zone than the last. There's more quests, more lairs, more stuff to do. And when you finish this one, or reach level 12, which advertently happens a bit quicker during double XP weeks, but when you finish the zone, you will unlock your first dungeon, the Cloak Tower. See that massive tower floating back in the distance? That is the dungeon you will be going to when you finish the zone, or reach level 12. We'll talk about dungeons a little bit later. Alright, so while in the Tower District, and just follow the quest line through, it will lead you through the whole zone. It's pretty straightforward, honestly. Like I said, a couple of side quests you could do if you want some extra experience points. When you reach level 16, though, I want you to immediately head back to Protector's Enclave. Sergeant Knox has a new quest for you. Upon returning to Sergeant Knox, you'll see he has a new quest called a companion. He is going to get you your first companion. Once again, companions are NPCs that follow you around and help you out, and they are very, very important to this game. A good companion can mean the difference between life and death, in many cases, especially while solo questing. Accept the quest and head over to the Grand Emporium. When you're there, run all the way to the back and talk to Baal and Ashok. He will give you your first companion for free. When you're there, he gives you 4 options: Man-at-Arms, Apprentice Healer, Wayward Wizard, and Dog. Man-at-Arms and Dog, I believe, are melee DPS. Apprentice Healer is, well, a healer. And Wayward Wizard is an AoE damage dealer. You might be asking, which is the best option? And while this largely depends on what class you are playing, I think just as a general rule, the overall best of those 4 is Wayward Wizard. He does a really good area of effect damage, which can really save your butt in content, especially while solo, once again. Also, by clicking any of those, he will tell you a little bit about them before you choose them if you want to know more, but I'm just going to go with Wayward Wizard. I recommend you do as well. Once you select your companion, you might think, okay, he's in my companions tab now. No, he actually goes to your inventory first, where you need to right-click and bind him. When you bind the companion, you can give him a name. We'll call mine Ted, with 2 Ds. Once bound, you can go back to your companions tab and summon him. He will now help you out, and you'll see that over there on the side, those 2 passive powers have populated. You can also upgrade them for Astral Diamonds or Companion Upgrade Tokens. You can get Companion Upgrade Tokens from doing dungeons and a few other ways, but the easiest and cheapest way is just running dungeons. The chest at the end has a chance of dropping Companion Upgrade Tokens. The next quest that you'll get from Sergeant Knox around level 16ish that I want you to focus on is How Enchanting. This will teach you all about enchantments, how to upgrade them, and what refining stones are. Also, her house is full of lore, if you're like me and love lore. Just walk in, talk to the merchant, select the How Enchanting option, and she'll walk you through it. But for clarity's sake, to convert items to refining points, the currency used for upgrading enchantments and artifacts, open your inventory, click the settings cog at the bottom, choose Convert Refinement Points. When you do that, a window opens up. You can add items singularly, or you can choose that drop down and add in multiple items at once. We're going to add in some quartz and convert that to 33 refining points. Next, you can see this ring that we got from the quest has an enchantment already slotted in it. If we right-click that item and choose Refine Enchantment, we can upgrade the enchant. Drag the slider all the way up. You need to have the proper reagents in your inventory. She gives them to you for this quest. And finally, for the tutorial, click the little green box to make it go away, and then you can upgrade. Click Upgrade, and based on the percentage chance that you had, it will either succeed or fail. If it fails, you will lose the reagents that you put into it. If it succeeds, it will upgrade, and you will lose the reagents you put into it. For future reference, for everything past this first one, the game will also require you to have a ward. A ward is a special item that you can use to think of it like a safeguard against failing. Most wards, called preservation wards, will be used up instead of the reagents if the upgrade fails. This, by default, is set to be required. However, you can turn that off in the game's option menu. Go to Options, Gameplay, Require Ward to Upgrade, set that to off if you would rather take your chances losing out on the reagents. And for some lower level upgrades, that's actually better because wards can get kind of expensive. At around the level 20 mark, you will get a quest called Artifact Facts. You will also head back to that same enchanting store, talk to Elder Reader Laris, and he will tell you about artifacts. Artifacts are special pieces of gear that you can upgrade that also have a combat utility. Those go into your number 3 slot. Each artifact has a different combat utility and different stats associated with them. Like I said, you can upgrade them using refining points and enchantment stones, just like enchantments. And make sure you head upstairs and grab all the lore. It's that time already. By now, you've likely completed the Tower District. You've likely gotten pretty decently high in level, maybe around level 20. So if you hit K, that will open up the queue finder. In the queue finder, it will list all of the people in your queue group. You can also select a random dungeon queue. Dungeons unlock as you level up. There are also other types of queues, such as skirmishes, epic dungeons, and trials. Skirmishes are short dungeons with a single boss. Epic dungeons are harder variants of dungeons, and there are some dungeons that are only epic, just like there are some dungeons that are only normal. And trials are the big endgame raid style content. Big 10-person boss fights. You will unlock those later on after you are level 80. You can also queue up directly for the specific dungeon you want, but I highly recommend doing random dungeon because you get bonus experience points and daily rough astral diamonds. So we're gonna click that little box next to the random dungeon queue, and we're gonna queue ourselves up. Now we wait. Wait times for dungeons in Neverwinter is very variable. If you are a tank or a healer, it could be instantaneous. If you are a DPS, it can take a while. But let's be real, as a DPS, what game's dungeon queue doesn't take a while? I have spent 20 plus minutes in Final Fantasy XIV waiting for dungeons. Final Fantasy XIV is one of the largest MMOs ever, so just be patient. While we are waiting, let's head back to Sergeant Knox. At about level 10, you get the quest called Workshop Opportunity that will let you claim the workshop in Protector's Enclave, which is where you will do all of your crafting. Simply accept the quest and follow what it tells you to do. You will head over to this building, you'll watch a short little cutscene, and then enter in. As soon as this cutscene ended, though, my dungeon popped. So we'll put that dungeon on pause for a minute while I talk about crafting, and then we'll conclude this video with the dungeon. So when you get into the workshop, you will see a bunch of people lined up. You need to follow the quest, and it will have you pick your retainer. Think of your retainer as your assistant. You get your choice of whoever you like best. I don't think this choice really matters, just whoever you seem to like the best. I am going to pick Males. I think that's how you say her name. I'm going to pick her. She seems cool. After you pick your retainer, but before we can craft anything, we need to head over to the master's desk. You are the owner of this workshop. After all, we need to hire some people. So you go there, you check out your applications. You get new applications every day. You can check them out, look at their different stats. The ones I highly recommend looking at are proficiency and commission multiplier. Proficiency is like how good they are, and the commission multiplier is how much money they will take. Try to recruit ones with a negative commission modifier. That way you don't lose as much money on crafting. Crafting does cost gold. Anyways, just recruit the first 4 you get, because that's what the quest makes you do. You get some, and you will get some for your chosen profession. Now you can level all professions. That one that you start with is not your only one. You can level them all. It's just one that gets a little boost up front. After that, the quest teaches you about crafting. You can head over to that workbench and craft your first item. During the quest, you will pick your starting profession, which will give you a little boost to that profession, including some useful materials for it. To craft an item, simply pick the artisan you want to work on it, the tool you want to use, and a supplement if you have any. Those are for more advanced use. To craft something instantly, you can click the craft button. That will use up a resource called Workshop Morale. Workshop Morale replenishes each day, or you can pay some astral diamonds to replenish it yourself. Or, if you don't want to use morale, you can use the order button, which will run a timer. When that timer runs out, you'll get the item. For this, we're just going to click craft and get ourselves a bronze ingot. Congratulations, you have crafted your first item in Neverwinter. Let's craft a few more. At the dispatch board, this is where you will gather resources. So Neverwinter, unlike other MMOs, you yourself don't go out into the world and gather stuff. You send other people to do it for you. So you go up, you pick who you want to do it, you pick the tool they need to use, and you click order. When the time is up, you get that item. That will keep repeating until you tell it to stop. Now we wait.
The light of Salune will cleanse away the wicked.
All right, let's talk about that dungeon now. The first dungeon of the game, called the Cloak Tower, has popped, and let's run it. So let's briefly touch on Neverwinter. Like most MMOs, uses a Holy Trinity system of tank, healer, damage dealer. Tanks rush in first and take all the damage from the enemies. So your tank is your big guy with the sword and shield or whatever. He runs in and distracts all the enemies. The damage dealers then will run around and attack them. And the healer tries to keep everybody alive. Dungeons in Neverwinter are fairly linear. You're not really going to get lost in them. Just run to the end, try to stay alive, and do your role. While in dungeons, some important things to keep in mind is that traps are in these dungeons, so I highly recommend best practice is just avoid them. Rogues can disarm them, but honestly, just try to avoid them. One thing I want to mention, if this is your first time in grouped content, pay attention to the enemy's feet. You see that ring? That is the combat advantage indicator. If you want to learn more about combat advantage and why it's important to the game, I got a video, links up there in the info and down in the description and probably in the end card as well. But I highly recommend watching that. It explains combat advantage and why it's important. Essentially, it's a mechanic, kind of like a backstab or a flanking mechanic, and it really, really can make all the difference while you're in dungeons or other challenging content. Anyways, Dungeons in Neverwinter feature 3 bosses. Simply kick all 3 of their butts. You get to the end, and you get a treasure chest. Upon opening the chest, you will see a couple of things. You will see some seals of the adventurer. Those are a currency we can use to buy some armor or other useful items, and usually a piece of armor. Sometimes you'll also get what is called premium loot. Premium loot is much more valuable items like those companion upgrade tokens, trade bars, which are another currency, and other things. You will not always get one of those drops, but when you do, it's always a nice feeling. All right, and the last thing I'm going to mention is now that you've completed your first dungeon, you're almost ready to be let loose on the world of Neverwinter. Keep questing, keep running dungeons, talk to people, make friends. The Neverwinter community is very, very nice and welcoming of new players, so feel free if you're ever having problems to ask. But the last thing I want to talk about is the Seals Trader. Now that you have completed your first dungeon, you've earned yourself some Seals of the Adventurer. So we're going to head over to the Seven Suns Coster Market in Protector's Enclave. It's that big, kind of ovular shaped building right in the middle. We're going to find this lady. Interact with her. You will at some point have gotten a quest to go see her, but interact with her. You can buy general wares, which are things like enchants, a bag of astral diamonds, or a chest of random gear. What we're going to talk about is the other option, view equipment by class. This will show you equipment specifically for your class. So you can scroll down, you can see it's got level ranges. Highly recommend coming in here and buying yourself some gear. After the recent changes, Neverwinter can be on the challenging side while solo, so I highly recommend keeping your gear stocked up, which would mean running dungeons, getting seals, and potentially buying new gear. We're going to kit our little cleric out with some full blue gear from the seals vendor. Those are the basics of Neverwinter. If this video helped you out, please leave a like and a comment. Maybe hit that subscribe button and ring that bell. It really helps out. You can, leave a comment. Let me know what other guides you want to do. If you want something more specific, feel free to tell me. I am always happy to oblige. I do stream Neverwinter Wednesday through Sunday over on Twitch at twitch.tv/Bryce Loves Gaming. You can hop over there and ask me questions anytime. I'm always happy to, answer. And if you're having troubles in some, content, feel free to ask. I can come and help out. Have a marvelous day and enjoy your adventures in the Forgotten Realms.